It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That's something brand new from Tesla. That's called Taste My Pain. And tasting the pain of the other four guys in the band is a guitarist by the name of Dave Rude. He's back again with a brand new solo release called The Key. So welcome back to the Classic Metal Show, Dave Rude. How are you, Dave?
I am great, man. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Well, Dave, I got to ask you, being that you are a band guy as well as a solo guy, we opened up here with a new Tesla track, and Chris and I were kind of discussing it. What's up with the release of a single song? What's the impetus behind that?
Well, it was kind of just something to do, really. I mean, we're going out for the summertime. I mean, now the tour season has started to wind down a little bit, but it was like spring earlier this year, and we were like, well, we haven't had a record in a while, and we've been talking about someone. It's a lot more of a long, involved process, and we had all these dates booked, and we're like, well, let's just do something that'll, keep it interesting for the diehard fans who come up to see Tesla all the time, and give them something new to get into, and something fun for us to do, and just, it's all, even when we just learn some old song that we haven't done in a long time and throw that into the set, it just makes it a lot more interesting for us, and then, the fans like it too. So we said, well, let's just get together and do one song. We'll put out as a single just to kind of have a song for the summer, and that's what we did. We got together and, banged it out up at Brian's new studio in a day and a half, and, just sort of put it out. But it did, also sort of become the catalyst for making a new album, and that's what we're sort of in the beginning phases of now, just doing a lot of writing, and we're going to have an album out probably early next year, which is pretty darned cool.
That's cool, man. Well, Dave, let me ask you, man, because you've obviously been in Tesla now for a good while. Is it changing how, since you joined the band, how the band writes records? Because it seemed like it used to be in the band where there was definitely a come off the road, then there was a process of writing and a process of recording and whatnot. But it seems like, especially even with the last record where you guys pushed Private Ledbetter out there a little bit ahead of, the actual recording, and now this time where you're doing it again with Taste My Pain, is it kind of a process now where you guys write a lot more when you're on the road?
I don't know. I'd say there's not really a specific reason for that. It's just, it's funny, I forgot about the Ledbetter thing, because we started playing that, and the version on the DVD is a lot different than the one that ended up on the album, which is also kind of weird.
Well, we remember, Dave. We're fans. We remember. And you're in the fucking band, so, shape up. We're going to talk to Keith about you real soon, but go ahead.
Yeah, with Private Ledbetter, it wasn't planned. That was like we were working on a record, and that one was done, and we could do it live. Like I said, even though we ended up changing it, but it was more of like let's just start trying it out and see how it goes. This one was like, let's do a new song just as a new song, a single internet-only release, just to kind of see what happens, and also give the fans something new, like an actual new original song, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was planned out in that sense, but it wasn't not as like a deeper, like way that we work now. It's also a longer time in between albums, just because it's a different sort of music industry than it was, back in the earlier days of Tesla, when it was like album tour. I mean, we toured a lot less than the band did in the 80s and 90s too,
Sure. Well, Dave, let's talk about your solo record for a minute. It's simply called The Key, and from listening to the record, it's obviously very different from Tesla. The question I always have is, why do musicians like yourself, feel the need to explore different avenues, especially once you've either caught on or latched on to a successful band? I mean, is it almost I'm just saying, outside looking in, it's almost a statement of, well, I'm not getting my full creative, exploration out there. Is that indeed the case, or is it just something you just like to do?
It's really more just something I like to do, and with me, I was doing it before I was in Tesla. That's how I got in Tesla, was through, finding my solo band years ago, and I'm liking it and everything. So that, it was a little bit of a different situation with me because, like you said, most guys in, big bands, they start a solo project later, after a few years after they've been successful, and they want to try something new. So, I don't know for other people, but just for me, it's something, it's not like a negative thing. It's not frustration, like, oh, I can't express myself creatively in Tesla, because I totally do. I totally, co-write on all the new Tesla stuff, and it's a great, encouraging, positive environment. So that's fantastic, and I'm super lucky for that. But it's still different. It's not like a frustration thing. It's just like, well, Tesla's going to sound like Tesla. So it's the stuff that I, write with Tesla or sort of show to the guys and see if we're, everyone's into it. It's stuff that I'm feeling like this sounds like it could be a cool Tesla song, and not my band, not another project, like I'm going to go pitch it to Shinedown or something. It's just like, this sounds like Tesla, or this doesn't. And it's like, just because it doesn't sound like Tesla doesn't mean it's not good. So it's like, I still want to do it. It's like, I really like these songs, but I don't think any of them would have worked as Tesla songs. You know what I mean? So and then also with my band, obviously I'm singing too, so that's a whole nother, just dynamic to it, and it's just something that I, like I said, like to do. Yeah.
Right. Are these songs on the key a lot more personal to you than either stuff you've written in Tesla or even on past Dave Rude Band projects? Because I know just outside looking in, it sounds like songs like Forgive Her or On My Own Again are very personal lyrically. At least they sound personal lyrically. Is that one of the reasons is that one of the outlets that you have with the Dave Rude Band, is to write stuff more personal to yourself?
Well, yes and no. Yes, that I do have that more, that outlet to, if I want to do something that's more personal, than with Tesla. Because obviously with Tesla, anyway, Jeff writes all the words, so that's sort of different, a different sort of situation, anyways. But still, even if it did, it's like, if you want to do something really personal, it's a lot easier if it's your own project, So yes, in that regard, but no, in the sense of, because I've had people say that same thing before about that on my own again or Forgive Her, like they sound like autobiographical, and those probably of everything on the album are the absolutely unautobiographical. Okay. So thank you for thinking that they are, because that I guess that means I was doing something right with the lyrics. But no, both of those are just total like character songs, like imagining what it would be like in a certain situation. There are other songs that are more autobiographical on the album, but those ones are definitely heartfelt, but it's more like a character that I'm imagining. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, Dave, a day without a buzz is a day that never was. How true is that statement?
I would absolutely agree with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a buzz like from any sort of inebriation. It could just be a buzz of like, ooh, that was really cool and exciting and just getting excited. Or it could definitely be a buzz from a couple of Heinekens.
Okay. Well, I was kind of leading into the content of your record, The Key, because Chris and I were discussing that we kind of think that you're kind of a throwback hippie guy. You're like a 70s laid back, I love the band America, James Gang, hippie kind of guy. That's the kind of vibe we get from your new release, The Key. How close are we on that?
Laid back, sure. I guess I don't know, I wouldn't consider myself a hippie, but I'm pretty mellow, pretty, I guess, kind of liberal. I don't know. I don't really think about it too much, but probably more closer to a hippie than your average, like, NFL guy or, like, Wall Street banker.
Sure.
But I don't, like, listen to Grateful Dead or anything, and I actually should listen to America, but I don't have any America records. That's my own shortcoming, though, as a musician. I need to get more into the soft rock explosion. But so it's a reasonably fair thing. To me, actually, though, the record is a little heavier than the other stuff. Like I don't hear a hippie vibe, maybe a little bit of a savvy vibe, but also definitely some sort of a little bit more biggery riffs, you know? I don't know. But then it is all kind of mixed to that bluesy thing. I do love the James Gang. That's definitely you hit on the head.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you mentioned about, working with Tesla and, that was a big boon for you personally, to kind of shed light on your solo stuff and your solo career, as it were. And as the quote unquote new guy in Tesla, even though you've been at it for 8 years now.
Almost.
How much creative input does the principal members of the band allow you to have? Because I know guys who have been in bands, close to 30 years, and they're still, because they weren't one of the originators of the band, they're still considered the new guy, and they don't have the creative input that the original members have. So how much input do you have with Tesla?
Yeah, it's really lucky and really cool. It's not even an issue of anybody allowing me anything. It's just like 5 guys in a room and we're all just writing. Like, they, from day one, even before we ever tried to write together, whenever I first joined the band, it's like, whenever we do start writing songs, we want you to be involved. We want you to fucking show us stuff and bring songs and bring riffs and ideas and let's collaborate. And it was a really cool, I don't know, breath of fresh air or what. It's just kind of like a really pleasant surprise, because like you said, that I would say probably more often than not that would be the situation you'd run into, being a quote unquote new guy in an established band. They're not going to want to change their sound. It's going to be like that Rockstar situation, right? The movie where it's like you come in with all your songs and they're like, dude, the record's already done, we just need you to sing your part.
Exactly.
Right, and that's like the nightmare situation. And that would have really sucked, because I like to write a lot. I'm a songwriting motherfucker. So, I was very lucky that they were all down with that, and there's none of the weird ego stuff like, oh well, you just sit in the back kid because we wrote all these hit songs. It's like they're just from day one, and every time we got together to write, everybody's super encouraging and positive, and hey, what do you do? What do you got today? Let's write this, and just total collaboration with everybody in the band, which is, I think pretty rare and really cool and a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to making the new Tesla record as well.
Excellent, man. Well, Dave, I've got I'll tell you a very quick short story about your new record, The Key. When I got it, I did like most journalists do, is I took the record and I threw it on my computer and I immediately just threw it on my iPod. And, generally listening through a record, because as a journalist, we get tons. So, it just sort of, I know personally for me, I have a playlist that's called New Releases, and I just kind of throw it on and let it play. And I had yours playing, and I was listening to it, and all of a sudden a song came on, and I was like, man, I know these words, but this does not sound like anything I know. And it was your cover of Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. It's an interesting choice for a guy like yourself and for a record like this record to be on. But B, the reworking of it really gives it a new identity. What made you decide to do that song and to basically completely restructure it?
Well, first of all, thank you, because that's what we were definitely going for, man. I like it when bands totally rework a song, and if you're going to cover something, like, make it almost like it was a different song entirely. It's like you said, like, I know these lyrics, but I don't know what the song is. It's like what Rage Against the Machine did back years ago. Do every now and again. It's kind of fun. I don't know. I think we just sort of were listening to it in the band a lot, and then tried it once at rehearsal, and we're like, damn, this fucking rocks. It was like it was just cool from the very first time we played it. It was just had a groove. And, I love the Peter Gabriel version. I always have, and it's super produced and lush, and there's so many instruments and keyboards and vocals and horns and percussion and all this stuff. You could never try and actually, match that or copy it live. And we were just a trio, so it's like we have to do something different. and somehow just the core elements of the song, that groove and the bass line, you know, and me essentially playing the keyboard riff, you know, reinterpreted for the guitar, it just, for some reason, as the core elements of that song really work well as a rock tune, like a heavy, you know, to me it's a heavy blues song, and then we turned it into this big, you know, freak out improv jam at the end, and that was how it was every night on stage too. It was always, we would always do that song live, and that could go 10 minutes. It was just like, woo, just go for it. And it's a testament to how great that song is too. And Peter Gabriel, he wrote that by himself. Jesus Christ, that's a fucking amazing tune.
Right.
But it works. Somehow it lives in that space, that hard rock, bluesy, you know, metal space, and still sort of sounds like it was written that way almost, you know?
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. I mean, and that's the weird thing about that cover, not to focus only on the cover song, but, you know, it's very interesting to me as somebody that listens to 9 billion songs a week, how literally you were able to you took the elements that were good, but you know, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of that song necessarily by Peter Gabriel, because that synth pop thing does not work for me in my own head. But you kind of stripped all that away and just kept that kind of morose undertone to the song while adding just a straight up rock feel to it.
Well, thank you so much, man. That's cool. I'm glad you dig it. It's true. Like, I'm thinking of it now. I'm imagining the bass line in my head. It's like, I mean, and really, for the most part, we're playing the same parts. Like, I didn't change the vocal melody, and I don't think Marco changed the bass line. And so, like, when you hear it in our interpretation, it sounds like it was written as a rock song.
Right.
Like, that just sounds like the heaviest fucking rock riff ever written, you know?
Right, definitely, man. Well, let me ask you one more about the record, dude. On My Own Again features a few guest musicians, including Troy from Tesla. You know, what was going on with that song that you decided to bring other people in to participate on that one?
You know, that one was kind of an, I don't want to say an afterthought, because it's definitely its own whole thing on the front burner, but it wasn't a DRB song. You know, we had recorded the 9 songs, and I didn't want to release another, like, in-between album / EP. Like, you know, if it doesn't have fucking 10 songs, it's not an album to me, you know, for the most part, unless they're all, like, you know, 8-minute songs like your, you know, Metallica or Rush or something. Then you can have, like, a 8 or 9 song album and call it an album. But I was like, I don't want to do another goddamn EP, so I have to have something else that I've already done that I can throw on there and make it, you know, a full album. And On My Own Again is a song that I wrote in Nashville 2 years ago, because I do songwriting stuff for, you know, in Nashville and also here in California, and I write songs with other songwriters and producers, and try and pitch them to artists. So, like, I write with a lot of, you know, country writers in Nashville, and we try and pitch songs to publishing companies and artists and producers and get them to cut it. So I'm not, like, going country. I'm not going to go put out a country record and sing with an accent, but I like to write that stuff, and it's a whole sort of different, you know, industry over there in Nashville. You know, most artists don't write their songs. There's, you know, just guys who write songs and don't perform, who do it for them, and so I'm kind of getting into that, and this was one of the first ones I ever did, and it just kind of has that sort of crossover feel where it also sort of works as a rock ballad. And Troy lives out in Nashville, and I was staying at his house when I wrote that song, and the guy I wrote it with, Doc Holliday, who's, you know, one of my best friends out there and a great writer, and he's a great player too, so he played a lot of the guitars. He did the fucking killer solo. That's like one of my favorite solos on the album. I'm like, God damn it, it's not me. I should like my own solo better than that, but his solo is fucking better than all of mine combined, you know. It's just like, it's the coolest thing ever. You know, Troy was there, and he's got an amazing studio out in Nashville, and he liked the song a lot, and so he said, hey, man, I can put drums on there, you know, and we basically were making a demo to pitch to other artists, so they'll hear it and be like, I like that song, I want to do my own version of it. And I just did the vocals, and I sang it more as a rock thing, because I don't sing like a country singer. And, you know, it just kind of worked, and, you know, I really love that song, and I did a couple sort of solo acoustic gigs opening for Frank Hannon when he was doing the solo acoustic stuff a couple years back too, and every time I did that song, man, they it just got a huge reaction. And it's like a slow, kind of sad ballad. You know, I wasn't expecting people to react so well to it, but like everyone started, you know, requesting it. Like, when are you gonna, you know, record that song? And, you know, I had never really intended to release it on my own, but you know, and again, the recording sounded really great with Doc had done with it and Troy. So, I'm really happy to have Troy on that song because he's, you know, he's one of my favorite drummers. Even though I'm in a band with him, I'm still like, wow, cool, I get Troy on the song.
Right, definitely, man. Well, dude, let me ask you just a quick Tesla one. I mean, certainly you've been in Tesla now for 8 years, and you replaced arguably the most charismatic member of the band, at least publicly, in Tommy. You know, I have to imagine at the beginning there was some sort of blowback where fans, you know, Tommy had a big following. He still has a big following. It's amazing to me how many people still talk about Tommy with Tesla. You know, how difficult was that initially to be the guy, especially where you're not as flamboyant? I mean, I remember going to Tesla shows and Tommy was daring people to throw ice at him, and, you know, Tommy was like an attacking guy, and you're more laid back. You know, you're a different guy, obviously. So I'm curious how difficult that was for you at first with the transition and how it's kind of smoothed out along the way.
You know, that was another one of those sort of just lucky breaks that I got almost zero blowback and zero hazing. Man, the fans were cool from day one. It was really, really exceptional because, you know, like you said, he definitely had his own persona and a lot of dedicated fans, and you know, if having somebody come in and replace him, you could have been a really rough situation. But everybody had, like I said, man, from the very first show, everyone was super cool. Like, I never had any of those issues. I never had those problems. And I've also heard about that from other bands, the guys who come in and replace the original members and, you know, have a lot of bad shit written about them online, and, you know, people throwing shit at them or just being jerks. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, you know, the whole time I've been in the band, I really was lucky. I mean, it's just a testament to the fans that are, you know, they're so cool, and they really welcome me with open arms since it started. And really, even in person, you know, like, it was always cool. And I'm almost hanging out with fans, you know, after shows and stuff too. And, you know, I've never gotten that, like, oh, you suck, or bring back Tommy, or anything. You know, I think Tesla fans love Tesla just as a whole, and they're happy that the band is still going and sounding good and doing well and putting out, you know, good stuff and putting in good shows. And I think as long as that is still happening, that end result, they're willing. You know, it's not as big a deal as it could have been.
Well, Dave, do you ever have any concerns that Tommy will ever return to the band?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
All right. All right, Dave. Well, is there anything else about your new release called The Key that you want to tell fans about?
Well, you know, I guess where they can get it, they can get to DaveReedBand.com or the record label's website, which is Rat Pack Records. That's RATPAK Records.com. And you can order a physical copy of the album, and they actually got a bunch of really cool merch and, you know, random little weird stuff and autographed little postcards and guitar picks and stickers and, you know, hats and weird shit. It's pretty neat. So you can get all the fan stuff too if you're interested. But if you just want the record, ratpackrecords.com or DaveReedBand.com. And I'm just happy it got to come out, because it had been, you know, some of those songs had been recorded a long time ago, and even though the band isn't really active anymore, I'm happy people are responding well to it, and, you know, now people are like asking me to go out and do shows and stuff. So maybe there'll even be some live stuff in the future.
Excellent. All right, Dave. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us on the Classic Metal Show, and we were talking prior to the interview about our Lemmy question, and you seemed like you were chomping at the bit to re-answer that or got some input on that. So how has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Oh, man, that is just the greatest one, and I totally remember that, because I think our last interview was at least 3 or 4 years ago, so that's cool. I never remember questions for that long. that's a testament to your guys' interviewing prowess. Very cool. But I would say, I mean, aside from all the indirect ways, because he influenced half of the fucking musicians that I grew up loving, you know, like fucking Guns N' Roses and Metallica and all those people. But me personally, I guess it's a little bit hokey, but goddamn, he doesn't give a fuck, you know, like, and that sort of punk rock attitude, you know, I've embraced it, and I've, you know, even if you're not playing punk rock, you can still be punk rock, and I think I got a little bit of that from Lemmy, just the attitude of just fucking go for it hard, and don't worry about it, because, you know, God knows Motorhead never tried to fit in or, you know, follow any sort of trend. They just were Motorhead from day one and never stopped, and that's, you know, what I've always kind of done. There were years, you know, before Tesla, obviously, you know, where people would be like, man, you know, you probably would have a better shot at, you know, making it in the business if you know, played whatever, you know, played pop, or if you played nu metal or whatever was kind of hot in the radio, and you know, move to LA and do all the things that guys trying to make it do. And I was like, yeah, but all that shit sucks. Like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I like Guns N' fucking Roses, man. I want to play bluesy fucking rock licks, and I want to bring that style back and just do what's in my heart. And that's something that definitely, you know, comes from Lemmy, and obviously Lemmy's always done. So I guess that would be my Lemmy inspiration story.
Excellent. All right, Dave. Well, the Dave Rude Band has a new CD out just called The Key, and you can go pick it up. And Dave, as a tradition, we always let our artists pick a closing song off the new release. What should we play, and tell us a quick story about it?
Well, we were already talking about it. Have you played Sledgehammer? Are you going to play that one?
We can play it if you want us to play it.
You know what? As much as I'm all about the original songs, I do like that song, and people have reacted real well. So if you haven't played it yet, I would absolutely put on Sledgehammer, because it's just a pretty fucking fun rockin' tune.
All right. Well, here it is. This is Dave Rude from the Key release, and this is Sledgehammer exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.